Hatter. Let's get at her. It is another episode of the Mainly Broncos podcast. I want to give a quick thank you to both Caden Staub and Lou Scattaglia for hopping on the show last week. It was a great fun-filled, first deep dive. And now that we are, roughly about a month away from free agency, it certainly seems like a fitting to kind of do a little bit of a deeper dive like that. In this particular episode, we are going to be doing a little bit of a brief Super Bowl preview, but the entirety of this show in terms of a theme is we're going to have our first mock draft. We're going to do a mock draft 1.0. And I think it's almost fitting, like, as I said, it's like we're a week away from free agency, so kind of like we'll dabble a little bit.
Or a month away from free agency.
Sorry, that's my bad. A month away from free agency. And then you are 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I think 3 weeks
from the draft.
From the scouting combine. Because the scouting combine is, near the end of February. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Getting the chance to do a diagnosis, if you will, of the Underwear Bowl. So that'll be a lot of fun. First things first, make sure you hit that subscribe button on the over on the YouTube page over for M8RT Network. Follow both Brandon and I on the socials. For Brandon, you can follow him at Brandon Miller PO. Myself, you can follow him at Cameron Parker PO. And of course, the show handle at Mainly Broncos. Before we dive into, obviously, any sort of conversation piece, Brandon, what are you doing? You doing good?
Yeah, man, I'm doing pretty well. I'm trying to get through this week right now because I came back from vacation and I'm just like
you're still
hit by a bus with all the stuff I had to get done. Today was a crazy one, but I'm doing well. I wish that we were just a week away from free agency because we only have one more game left.
Yep, one more game.
It's not the Broncos,
and sadly it's not the Broncos. So and again, like one of the talking points, as we said, is we are going to be doing our first mock draft. And anybody that doesn't necessarily know this exercise or that is new to this type of exercise, we basically share the screen for the simulator, and then we just go through and we go through the different scenarios, and then you guys, the watchers of the stream and everything, will also contribute to the selection of a draft pick. And with this particular one being 1.0, I figured it's only fitting, Brandon, to get some of that fan interaction, and get them the chance to possibly influence and select a player and be a GM for a night, if you will. So that'll be kind of interesting. Fun. Yeah, make it interesting. So why don't we start first with what is the Super Bowl Sunday? It is the Eagles and the Chiefs. It is a replay of the Super Bowl from a couple of years ago. It's interesting. I think that there are some people maybe that, are kind of throwing the Eagles, maybe under the radar, in the sense maybe saying that they are not as good of a team, than they were, a couple years ago. And the Chiefs are just, you got to weather the storm. They're just a very well-coached football team, which they are. They're a very well-coached football team. And by that same token, they're making the plays that matter, that have gotten them to the Super Bowl. And so it's going to be a very interesting one because, to lead things off, obviously, with it being, of course, the Broncos related stuff, we also have to dive into probably the first things first, Brandon, and that would be the Vic Fangio effect. Vic Fangio is going up against Patrick Mahomes for, I want to say this is the 9th time, is that he will be squaring off. And fun fact, I don't know if the Philadelphia Eagles are the number one defense, but obviously they are a top, upper echelon defense. And the statistic is that Patrick Mahomes is undefeated and basically efficient football when he plays the number one defense in the Super Bowl. Like he's obviously undefeated. But yeah, he's got like 7 touchdowns, no interceptions or something. Like it's pretty crazy. It's pretty absurd.
Yeah. This is going to be interesting to watch because the Eagles have an incredible defense that obviously is now coached by the one person who seemed to sort of have figured out Patrick Mahomes a couple years ago when he was the head coach of the Denver Broncos.
Like maybe his last year is kind of when he
his last year. And I think we held them to I don't even know, 12 points or something. I was like very, very, or 13 points. It was like a very low scoring game. And we still couldn't beat him because we had absolutely no offense. But Vic Fangio is kind of has the blueprint of somehow finding some way to stop the Chiefs. So that'll be interesting. But he also now has the defense to do it. And the Eagles suddenly turned into like a good secondary. Going into this season from last season, they were kind of like a bit like Swiss cheese. You could kind of do whatever you wanted on them. And then they have 2 outstanding rookies come in and just completely turn everything upside down. And suddenly they have a very formidable secondary, which is just kind of crazy to see the impact that 2 rookies are able to make on that. But the one thing that I think is a little interesting is the Eagles have had 10 takeaways in the postseason so far.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely absurd. Like Vic Fangio is playing with his food a little bit. And just anytime anyone makes a mistake, they're capitalizing on it. And now they're about to put a team that, is very good at not making mistakes. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But we did see the Chiefs have a turnover as well. Their first since like midway through the actual regular season in their AFC Championship game. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens. The Eagles are interesting to me because like their offense is not what you expected. Maybe you expected it. Maybe that's not the best term. It's not what we've come to expect from an Eagles offense.
Yeah, in the sense of just a dominant running the football.
Dominant running football, but their passing game is kind of just not what it was, is I guess what I was going after there. And I think like if they don't get Saquon, they're not here. Like I feel pretty confident in that statement. Saquon has been just a revelation for them. And I can't believe that man was wasted in New York for all those years.
Yeah.
But it just completely has been carrying that offense, and Jalen Hurts has not been as great. The offensive line too. Jalen Hurts has not been as great. I mean, he's still Jalen Hurts. He has experience playing in the Super Bowl. Like, I'm not saying I'm counting him out, but it's just not. Yeah.
But as of late, he's looked really darn good. Like
he's looked good.
Like really darn good. And I think that like to lead things off, I think one of the reasons why, spoiler alert, I am picking the Eagles like this is because of the fact that the game that when you have against the Washington Commanders,
they trounced the Commanders.
Where you win like that, but you also do it with throwing the football, which should have been the matchup anyway. Is that daring Jalen Hurts? I think we even talked about that too. Is like daring Jalen Hurts, to throw the football, right? Well, every single time it seems like you are doubting Jalen Hurts is the moment when he really plays his best. And as of late and in the playoffs, he is playing his best football. And because of that, you are seeing the target shares go up for guys like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And I think that when you factor in that side of things in that particular area of it, plus the Saquon and running the football with a dominant offensive line, and of course the tushy pushy, they're a dominant team. And I don't know if there's any team in the NFL that can actually stop the Philadelphia Eagles when they're humming like that. Because you can't stop Jalen Hurts when he's certainly running the football. You can't stop him through the air. It's still smart to dare him to throw the football, but he's going to make you pay through the air when he's efficient and he's playing at such a high level, so they're just a very, very dominant football team, I should say, right now.
Yeah, I mean, They're absolutely just blowing teams out of the water on the heels of Saquon Barkley having multiple touchdowns every game. And we saw that again against the Commanders. Jalen just didn't. I mean, I think he played well. Like, he's not been bad. I just feel like the passing game hasn't been there, and it's
for the regular,
certainly for the regular season, and I mean, honestly, even a little bit in the postseason. Like, he's looked pretty good. But I mean, is it just that it's the what you are going to get out of an offense that has a running game that's this good? Sure, absolutely, that could be the case. I am interested to see again, like, how that plays out, because the Chiefs defense is also formidable. Steve Spagnuolo, please get hired as a head coach and leave the AFC West. But they're not incredible against the run. Like, they're a good team against the run, but James Cook had 2 touchdowns for the Bills, and James Cook is a good running back, but he's not Saquon Barkley. Barkley
and the Eagles defensive line, and the Eagles defensive line specifically.
Yeah.
On the flip side of it, they're really humming, and for a young unit like that, like, they're playing incredibly well. You have Jalen Carter, who's, for as young as he is, he's playing at probably a top 5 interior defensive lineman in the league, if not higher. And then you factor in Nolan Smith, the other edge player, and then Zach Bond, featured ever Broncos Zach Bond, along with Oren Burks and the other linebacker that they have there with Philly, and then that back end where you have the 2 rookies of Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, and of course Darius Slay, that really formidable trio of corners. From what it seems, they're just well suited for the playmaking that they have on defense and the aggressive nature that they can be able to do from a defensive line front. So basically what Vic Fangio has, as much as he was having great pieces in Denver, he just has unbelievable pieces right now with the Philadelphia Eagles, to where he can kind of do whatever it is that he wants to with an aggressive play style. And I think that alone should make a guy like Patrick Mahomes a little bit uncomfortable, because the other side of that, on the side of that coin, is you almost have to rely on him using his legs just a little bit more, because of the amount of pressure that they possibly will be applying for him.
Yeah, and I mean, I talked about it a little bit earlier, but Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean look like 8-year veterans already. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and so much so that, like, I think at some point you do wonder if the inexperience is going to play a factor. But by this, it's like, but when you play in the playoffs and you're playing at such a high level, and it's a team that has already been there at the Super Bowl, like, that's going to carry so much weight for you. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to carry so much weight for you going into that Super Bowl from the foundation side of things. So it's going to be interesting to see all unfold. But as I said, I have the Eagles winning 26-20. I still think it's going to be a really, really close game. Just because I think that, when you look at from the Chiefs side of things, as much as I despise them and everything for calling it for what it is, like, they always hang around. They always hang around, and they always seem to make the play when it matters. So to say that I will be surprised if the Chiefs won, I will not be surprised if the Chiefs come away and win and pull off that three-peat. Just calling it for what it is. Like, just the way that they've been playing, and the way that they do have that clutch gene intact from a staff standpoint, players, executing at such a high level in those key moments, it's really hard to ignore.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to pick the Eagles just because I think they're a great team. I think Saquon has been absolutely dominant, and I think that,
in full disclosure, you're rooting for the Eagles, and
I'm rooting for the Eagles. Yeah. I'm rooting for the Eagles. Like, let me be clear here, but I want to be also as, like, unbiased as I possibly can. And I just can't ignore that the Chiefs somehow, some way, just find a way to continue to get it done. And I don't know. I think the Eagles defense is going to definitely play into this for me. Like they are an incredible defense across the board. And, I don't know who's going to really carry the burden for the Chiefs in the passing game. I mean, that's kind of been their Achilles heel and the story of that team for even the past couple of years, excluding their injury to their one star wide receiver that they've had. They haven't really had a good receiver. And like, not that their receivers have been bad or poor, that they have no weapons, but they haven't had a dominant wide receiver. Like, yeah. I mean, the Eagles have AJ Brown. The Eagles have two, but specifically AJ Brown, and who's Dallas just Goddard been absolutely lighting it up, and Dallas Goddard's been good. Travis Kelce just seems to kind of still hanging around as like a good tight end. Like, I'm not saying he's not a good tight end, but he's not getting any younger. But it just, I don't know, somehow, some way, they find a way to get it done, and it's infuriating. It's just very, very annoying to kind of continue to have to witness that. I think we could see something, I don't know, pretty close here. I kind of want it to be, I want it to be more of a shootout than I think it will end up being, but I'm going to say something along the lines of like 28-24 Chiefs probably is my unbiased prediction. I think it's going to come down to just a couple field goals or just a field goal. But I want the Eagles to win.
You're saying when you're saying low scoring, you're saying just because of the Fangio theme that we've been accustomed to seeing, you're saying like it's possible that we are going to probably see something that's like 16-13.
I mean, like it could be. I want it to be more of a shootout, and that's kind of like where my prediction is coming into play. And I just, from what I've seen from the Chiefs, like they find a way to score points. Like I don't know how they do it, but it could be low scoring. It could be like, to me, low scoring when you're talking about these two teams is neither team scores like
20.
Both teams are in the mid 20s, and it comes down to who's going to get in position to maybe make a field goal. But you're not going to have like, I think you're going to maybe get 2 touchdowns from Saquon Barkley. Maybe going to get a rushing touchdown from Jalen Hurts. And I think the Chiefs are going to somehow find a way to get like 3 touchdowns and a field goal. And like, as good as this defense is, I can't say the Chiefs can't do it because I've seen them do it. So like, I think to me, even that is low scoring because, from what you've seen them been able to do, like you get in the mid 20s against this team. And like,
yeah,
that's a good output. But against a team that could somehow find a way to probably score in the 30s plus, I don't know.
What
would be low to mid 20s.
You know what's interesting? There's just a lot of avenues it can go. Like I will say, like to Alex's point here, like in the sense that the Eagles could dominate the Chiefs. There's an avenue for that. Like as crazy as that sounds, there is 100% an avenue where the Eagles can just completely dominate the Chiefs, and it's because of the fact that you look at the full year that Kansas City has had, right? The Kansas City has had, like it's so wild because like the way the offense is performed, and just sputtering basically for an entire season. So there's avenues of the Eagles can absolutely dominate this Chiefs team for the Super Bowl. But then on the flip side of this, because of the fact that the Chiefs were sputtering, for the entirety of the season, the other side of that coin is you could also make the argument that the Chiefs are going to have the most complete game that they may have on the offensive side of the ball, and they're putting up 30 plus points and humming on offense and looking like a well-oiled machine.
And that's exactly what I'm saying is like, it's just this team, man. This team just does stuff that shouldn't happen. And even though this defense is so good, and I'm excited to see it, and it could play out like we've seen Vic Fangio defenses play out against the Chiefs in the past, and I think that's going to be the best path to victory for the Eagles. The Chiefs just going to find a way to somehow score. I don't think they're going to get to 30 points, but they're going to find a way to somehow score. If the Eagles score, I don't know, 24, the Chiefs are going to find a way to score 27. Like, that's just what it feels like. That's what this team feels like. And I just want to be honest. I don't want that to happen. But that's my unbiased prediction.
There's just a lot of different avenues that this could go where you're saying wow, but it's a wow where you're like, it's not overly surprising. Like, when you look at the different angles, like, again, like the Chiefs dominating, on the offensive side of the ball wouldn't necessarily be surprising because of the way that it went down for their season. But also on that flip side, because they had that offense and because of what we've seen in the Eagles in that last game against the Commanders, it very well might actually happen where the Eagles, just completely just steamroll the Chiefs. So yeah, I don't know. Like, there's just a lot of ways that, it would certainly happen where you're like, oh, this isn't all that surprising. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Before we dive into the this mock draft here, I want to do a quick thing. Obviously, I am repping what probably should be the NFL honors. Let's run through. I should say the NFL honors. Make our predictions, and go from there.
Go for it.
So obviously, with me wearing let's just start with the obvious. With me wearing the PS2 t-shirt, I do feel confident in the fact, that Pat Surtain will be that he will be the defensive player there. And when he does, and if he does in fact win, he will be the 7th defensive back, or I should say cornerback, to win the award, which is so crazy. The fact that, that's in essence the way that something would go down is like, for a limited position a little bit like that, and how much they also factor in the quarterback position and this, versus maybe say like the linebacker position or, corner or stuff like that. The fact that it's 7 is just so, it's crazy, considering especially like all the great cornerbacks that have, come in the National Football League. For it to be 7 is actually kind of wild. So I do think, though, that Pat Surtain is going to win it. How about you? Do you think Pat Surtain actually comes away with it?
I do. I do think he's going to be like join the winner's circle of one of very few cornerbacks or defensive backs in the NFL history to win the Defensive Player of the Year award, first since Stephon Gilmore. I do think it's going to be PS2. He's just the best corner in the game. He's been the best player on defense this year. And the only thing that really, in my opinion, would have given him any kind of barrier to winning is just the fact that he's not an edge player and he's like a corner. That's pretty much it.
Right. Elite grown-ups reference right there. From that, what is it? I think that's the second one. The second grown-ups. So now, as far as comeback player of the year, there's two choices here. You and I talked about it. We went ad nauseum a little bit and just went deep a little bit into the comeback player of the year. We had reasons for either one. You know what I mean? I think if you're looking at it from the way of where things probably are going to go down, I think you and I both agree it's probably going to end up being Sam Darnold. Although I think if you're making the right call, from my vantage point, it should be Joe Burrow. But nonetheless, Brandon, I have this feeling it's going to end up being Sam Darnold.
I mean, I agree with that. I do flip my reasoning a little bit. I think it should be Sam Darnold, but I do think that just with the new way that they're trying to judge the award, and to put it lightly, coming back from the bench is not something that they're awarding that for. I still think that they would probably find a way to be able to give it to Sam Darnold, but it's between him and Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
It's one of those two guys. And to me, it just comes down to, are they really serious? And it has to be injury. And if it has to be injury, it's Burrow. And if you can have a little leeway, it's Darnold.
And so if you're controlling the votes, right? Because I said if I was kind of controlling the votes, it would be Joe Burrow. But if you're controlling the votes, right? And you make the sole decision of who should be comeback player of the year. Are you saying it should be Joe Burrow?
If I'm controlling the votes, I would probably say Sam Darnold. And I say that in a way where, yes, I'm controlling the votes, but I'm also being realistic in how these play out. The fact that the Bengals went 9-8 is going to play into this. And so I have to play into that as well in my awarding of this trophy. And it's stupid and it doesn't make sense. But I do think Sam Darnold deserves it as well. So I would probably say I'd give it to Sam Darnold. But again, if they're really serious about it has to be injury, then it's probably Joe Burrow. I mean, it is Joe Burrow. There's no one else.
Truthfully, Alex, it might be one where it might be on the in the background. But really, the NFL honors, truthfully, is one where all I care about is just those awards. They make such a huge deal about it. And also, I think it's funny. This has happened, I think, in years past, where they leak who won the awards beforehand. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They have leaked the awards beforehand. Maybe even before NFL honors is actually happened, if you will, leaked who this guy is going to end up winning, maybe not necessarily the main awards, right? But who ends up winning Walter Payton Man of the Year, who wins the comeback player of the year, who wins the assistant coach of the year, you know what I mean? So they've done that. So it'll be interesting to see if they do it again. But so watch, I feel like, has the intention that we're going to watch it intently. And for that, I could probably speak for Brandon there and be like, I probably wouldn't be watching it intently, if you will.
Yeah, I'm going to pretty much watch the defensive player of the year and then kind of check out.
Yeah.
Or I'll check out until that pulls up and then I'll kind of just zone out again.
Speaking of assistant coach of the year, we don't necessarily need to do that one. Between the offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie of the year, those are probably your two pretty obvious choices, if you will, very obvious choices of where things are going to go. It seems to be Jaden Daniels for offensive rookie of the year and Jared Verse for defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with both of those.
Yeah,
both those picks.
And then coach of the year, this one is so fascinating because it's like the MVP award to a degree, in the sense that you look at the MVP award, and I mean this just strictly from this year, but you look at it for the coaches that are up for coach of the year, and you look for the MVP award. There are so many coaches that are deserving of the award for coach of the year and the job that they've done this year. And it's not just Kevin O'Connell. And so, spoiler alert, I think it's Kevin O'Connell. But I just still all the coaches that are up for coach of the year are so deserving for where they were able to get their team. And I do think very much so that Sean Payton deserves a case for Coach of the Year with, of course, everything that was being talked about from the Russell Wilson, cap hit to the way that the team performed and going to the playoffs. Like there is absolutely a case where he should have been, Coach of the Year, but it's more than likely going to be going to Kevin O'Connell, who is 100% the favorite for that award.
Yeah, I mean, it's Kevin O'Connell, 100%. Dude just like absolutely had an incredible year. They lose JJ McCarthy in the preseason to a multiple ligament knee injury, and it kind of feels like it's just downhill from there. But Sam Darnold comes out and does like Case Keenum Vikings season, but like on steroids with his hair on fire. Like, let me be clear. Sam Darnold played incredible this year, and like he's been better. He was better than Case Keenum. I'm not comparing them and saying like
you could say
they were similar players.
You could say that he should have been up for MVP.
It could have been, yeah. But I just think it's funny that you have two different scenarios in not a huge period of time. I mean, obviously it's 2017, so it's like not recent, but where you have two guys that were kind of written off that go to the Vikings and just have incredible years. It's crazy. It's this organization somehow. It's the Minnesota era. I don't know. But it's Kevin O'Connell. Dude absolutely just took the hand that was dealt him and won 14 games.
So, Alex, I will be ecstatic, and I speak for Brandon. I will be ecstatic if Bo Nix wins Rookie of the Year. But when you look at the trend of the way that things have unfolded from the Pro Football Writers of America, which more often than not is like the voters, of the actual NFL Honors Award, they awarded it to Jaden Daniels, which kind of tips it to the way of like where things are going to head in that direction. And all the talking heads and everything that, truthfully, it seems like it's going to be a bit of a landslide, actually.
Easily. And I love Bo, but Jaden Daniels had one of, if not the best rookie seasons we've ever seen.
But also, Bo was also not that far behind, though.
Bo had a great year. Don't get me wrong. Bo had an amazing year. Still a historic rookie year. Jaden Daniels was just on another level.
Yeah. And it to a certain degree, it's almost like the MVP award for the offense. You had Bowers, who had a unworldly year for the Raiders. And then you had Bo go off for a very abnormal rookie year. And then you had Jaden Daniels do the exact same thing for an abnormal rookie year. So any other rookie year, like Brock Bowers is going to win it, or Bo Nix is going to end up winning it. Like
if it's not Jaden and it's not Bo, it has to be Brock Bowers.
Yeah. So
if it's not a quarterback, it has to be Brock Bowers.
I think the thing for me is like, and this is everything I've come down to is like, there are three just legitimate candidates and choices for Rookie of the Year. I think if, every Bronco fan would ever say that I would love to see Nix win it. It's just the way the tide is turning and the way that everything is going, it seems like it's pretty much in favor of Jaden.
Yeah,
it
has to be.
I do like the ESPYs. I will say I do like the ESPYs. Maybe not as involved much anymore, but I've always enjoyed the ESPYs.
Especially when Peyton Manning hosts them.
That's right. Which hasn't. I mean, it's been a while.
It's been a minute, but he's still the GOAT.
All right. Now transferring to Defensive Player of the Year. The Defensive Player of the Year and the Offensive Player of the Year.
Well, we've already said Defensive Player of the Year.
But for anybody that's just missed it a little bit, we said Pat Surtain is going to win Defensive Player of the Year. So Offensive Player of the Year and MVP. This one's interesting because I can't remember the last time someone swept for Offensive Player of the Year and MVP. That's not going to be this year. But what I could see a scenario happening is Saquon Barkley wins Offensive Player of the Year, and it's going to end up being Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson for MVP. I will actually say it's going to be for MVP. I will say it's Josh Allen. And you and I have talked about this. My MVP is Saquon Barkley. But I think the offensive player of the year is going to go to Saquon Barkley. But the MVP is going to go to Josh Allen.
Yeah. I definitely agree that it's going to be Saquon for offensive player of the year. I'm torn between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. I go back and forth. Either one of them could win it, and I'd be happy for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I think I'm leaning Lamar Jackson just because
what you want.
He just had an incredible year.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous.
He had another 40 touchdown year, and
yeah,
it was an absurd statistical year.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, last time he had more than 40 touchdowns, he was the MVP in 2019. But I think it's Lamar Jackson right now for me. I could see it going either way. They both deserve it. I wouldn't be mad at all if it was Josh Allen, but it's absolutely Saquon for offensive player of the year.
Yeah,
dude's just been ridiculous.
Matty, repping the Oklahoma City Thunder gear. If anybody that does not know, he does do a Thunder pod called Topic Thunder. Thanks for hopping in, buddy. Actually, we are getting ready to hop into our mock draft that we are going to be doing.
Okay.
But before we dive into that, Matty, we were having the conversation of the awards. So real quickly, give us your brief rundown of who you want to win each award.
Okay.
And who you think is going to win the award.
Okay.
And you don't need to worry about the assistant coach of the year. We kind of passed that one.
I mean, I'm going to leave who I want out of it just because, like, you know, there's bias in spots, but I'm going to try to be pretty objective here. Like, I think that, like, because want is different than, like, who I think deserves it more, maybe a little bit, but I'll go real quick. I think Lamar should win it with the MVP.
For MVP.
But Josh Allen probably is going to due to voter fatigue.
That's what Brandon was actually alluding. Maybe not the voter fatigue, but he was mentioning someone along the same lines.
I don't know how Saquon, like Brandon said, I don't know how Saquon doesn't get offensive player of the year.
Yeah.
Defensive player of the year, it should be PS2.
Should be
easily.
But I kind of think it will. Like, he had so much gas the last 6 weeks of the season to support that.
A lot of kerosene and fuel to the fire.
And really nobody else took it from him, I don't think.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the season.
And actually, you almost wonder, we didn't say this, but you almost wonder if that forced fumble in the Bengals game was the one play that almost sealed it for him to be the defensive player of the year. Like, one, given the moment of the game, it didn't exactly turn out okay, I don't think, on that next drive, but like, it was still a key moment of the game, and that's exactly what you want. You want your defensive player of the year to show up when it mattered.
Offensive rookie of the year is going to go to Jaden.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as much as I love Bo, and I think Bo certainly stacks up well, it's just with Jaden was the Heisman Trophy winner.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Put Jokic at tight end. We might have a quarterback competition. Daniels won Heisman. Was drafted number 2 overall. In redrafts, he goes number 1 overall. And really, he started off pretty damn hot. So that narrative was really hard to overcome. Mm-hmm. It's going to be him. Broncos country, I know that, Bo. Like, we support Bo, and Bo we trust. We believe.
I know. Yeah.
But like, please don't put your money on Bo Nix winning offensive rookie of the year. It's not going to happen. Defensive rookie of the year, it's probably going to be Verse just because he made a lot of plays. But I think Quinion Mitchell really made a name for himself all over the place. He transformed the back end of that Philadelphia Eagles defense in a secondary that was, picked apart a lot last year and the year before that. Really, the birds were not prey this year in their secondary. So I think it's gonna be Verse, but Mitchell, I think, is the most deserving, to be honest. Comeback player of the year. Did you guys do that?
We did, and
did.
actually, it's one where I said the want for me is I would want it to be Sam Darnold, but I actually think that it's the comeback player of the year is going to be Joe Burrow.
I specifically mentioned, like, if they're going to stick with this, you have to be coming back from injury rule, then it's going to be Joe Burrow. If they allow there to be a little bit of leeway, it's going to be Sam Darnold.
I mean, I would take the Chris Pratt line and say Kim Kardashian, right? That was a comeback story. I won't get into the rest of that, but you can look that up later. I mean, it's got to be Burrow. He honestly played an MVP level season. If the Bengals made the playoffs, say they were a 5 seed, you certainly could have made an argument for him as MVP.
Mm-hmm.
So the same with, honestly, real talk, the same with Chase for offensive player of the year. Just them missing out on the playoffs really hurt their ability to win awards. I don't know how you give coach of the year to anybody but Dan Campbell.
Oh.
Just for, like, I know that the Lions had some expectations, but how many people really expected those expectations to solidify and come to fruition? For them to be the 1 seed in the most competitive division I ever remember seeing.
Yeah, that was wild.
At the top. Really, the division wasn't settled until the final game of the season, of the actual season.
Crazy.
Which is why
the Vikings-Lions game was crazy.
Which is why I can't give it to Kevin O'Connell, because of like how things ended there. He couldn't beat, he couldn't win his division, even though they won a ton of games and far exceeded everyone's expectations. Like, it's not going to be Andy Reid. I think because a lot of people understand some of the things that, like, it wasn't necessarily coaching. It was a lot of external factors, which is why they only lost 1 game going into the last week of the season. But like the Lions being a 1 seed, I never thought I would see that in my lifetime, honestly. I don't know how you don't give it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We're heading to the mock draft. If we have enough time, we will bless you guys in the comments for doing another mock draft. And as we said on the top, obviously Matty and Brandon are well versed in this particular area. And if you guys are actually new in the comments or not new, then if you're not new, you know exactly the protocol. But if you guys are new, one thing we also do, and with this being the first mock draft of the season, we're going to take fan interaction, meaning you will be a GM for the night, and you will influence the decision for who you want the Denver Broncos to draft. We are going to be using the mock draft database, which they offer you trades and everything that's automatic. So in essence, we could have like 4 or 5 trade offers. We sift through and figure out which trade we want to actually accept, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's be a lot of fun. Let's all get ready now for the mock draft, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a lot of fun. As we said, it's one where I've certainly been a huge fan of using it. It's one that I would recommend. If I was anybody else, would be the mock draft database. Now, We are going to do all 7 rounds. It will be a normal. Let's see if it'll work. Okay. We can actually just do a full-on auto draft if we want. Maybe that's if we have enough time. We can actually run through that. But all right. So it's moving fast. It's moving heavy. Do our eyes deceive me? But
damn, that's a tough choice.
This is my one issue with almost every mock draft simulator that I've messed around with. The boards are weird, man. The boards are weird. Like, this is a dream, but it's also like, how dreamy do we want to get? Do we want to go all in on the dream draft, or do we want to say, like, okay, let's be a little bit realistic here?
And I think what's actually crazy is we have no offers on the table, guys. No offers on the table. So anybody that's in the chat, feel free to chime in as well. I think we have an idea of where we certainly want it to go. And that would be probably Ashton Genty. And I think that, given the recent comments of where Sean was talking about today, it would probably lend to the idea that it's going to end up being Ashton Genty and Tyler Warren. But I don't know about you guys. I think this probably should be Ashton Genty.
Did y'all get into that? The interview he had with Kay? Did you guys?
We can briefly mention that. Yeah, we can briefly mention that.
Oh.
How? Go ahead, Matty. Actually, since you brought it up.
All right. So he was hanging out on Kay Adams' show. Everybody loves Kay. Apparently he does too, because he spills all the tea with her.
Literally.
So positions that we've been talking about: running back, tight end, wide receiver, linebacker, safety. And he said middle. He didn't specifically mention defensive tackle, but you might be able to lump that in there too. Literally all the things that we discussed, he said, like, that's the priority. Okay, so that's step one. He talked about needing a joker, which I know there is a joker in Denver, but mentioned specifically with the NFL running a lot of too high, it's very important to have tight ends and running backs who are elite pass catchers and who can affect the game that way out of the backfield, be a matchup problem. Also, little fun nugget. Sean Payton was in Cabo with all of our quarterback room and the wives. And his wife, I think, was there, right? Otherwise, that'd be kind of maybe a little weird. But one, Sean McVay and his wife were also there. He said specifically McVay could not be in the same room as Bo Nix. I guess that's a Matt Stafford joke, because that's how that trade went down when he was moved from Detroit. But pretty interesting there if you want to connect any dots to Rams players of interest potentially or what have you. So anyway, I say all that, just keep those things in mind as we move forward. Sean Payton's pretty calculated. He says things that may just seem like he's just blabbing, but really you can trust a lot of what he says. So now the board, we see Ashton Genty and Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland all on the board here, who all would qualify as jokers.
Yep. And so, Paul, the term joker is basically a chess piece for your offense. And specifically, as Matty mentioned, what Sean was talking about today was almost hinting at the idea of a running back or a tight end, specifically using his examples of Reggie Bush and Jimmy Graham and Jeremy Shockey, and of course, Alvin Kamara. So that kind of that gives you a bit of an idea. Queen probably would lend to I don't know what would be a queen, I guess, but I think we have certainly an idea here. Genty, Mike, Genty seems to be the consensus here, correct?
Yeah. Why not?
Brandon, any last words?
The only thing right here with this is, damn, I love Ashton Genty, and yeah, I'd probably take him. But if you give me the opportunity to have Tyler Warren, and with how stacked this draft class is, the running back position, it's difficult for me to not want Tyler Warren and still get someone like pick. There's so many people you could pick in later rounds at running back that you can even double it up. Like you get Caleb Johnson and RJ Harvey, right? Is that going to equal Ashton Genty? Probably not. But that's the one thing that's giving me pause.
But here's the thing, though. I still would double up even if I took Genty.
Here's a question. Let's do a 2-for-2 question real quick. Would you rather have like Ashton Genty and a Harold Fannin, or would you rather have a Tyler Warren and any of those second round running backs?
Tyler Warren and Cam Scatterbo.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not sold on Scatterbo at the pro level yet.
I mean, maybe Scatterbo or Caleb Johnson or somehow Omarion Hampton if you trade up. Like, there's so many running backs on day 2 that
Genty,
there's
right?
So many. I mean, I would not be mad at Genty. I'd still take Genty.
All right.
But just Tyler Warren is right there. He's by far the number 1 tight end. You need a tight end. And I think you're going to have better luck finding a player that is 85% of Ashton Genty in a later round than you are a player that's 85% of Tyler Warren.
All right.
Okay, let's go Warren.
No, I
sold
think,
me.
But I feel like the majority, if we're going to go off a majority is probably going to be still going Genty.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. My vote is Warren, but I wouldn't be mad if we took Genty.
Well, okay, I'll tell you what.
What does chat say? So we have not Warren. We have Warren and an Ohio State running back. That's another option.
Another mention about Adrian Peterson being a joker, which would lend to.
Okay, let's draft Adrian Peterson. Let's do that.
All right.
Yeah, Matty would love that.
Heard, Tom Brady's pretty good.
Okay, I have an idea. The stream might run just a tad long here, but let's do a second mock draft. And if we get the same scenario, we'll do Tyler Warren. How's that sound?
All right, we'll compare it.
So we got Ashton Genty.
Is there a way to see yeah, there you go. I'm actually not as familiar with this mock.
Man, Zabel's stock has just risen quickly.
Oh, dude, I want him so bad, but
so we have an offer. We're not taking it from the Bucks, but they're basically offering us 3 picks for next year, 2nd, 4th, and a 7th.
Yeah, no.
For just the 2nd round pick. And then obviously the Texans are offering a 5th, a 2nd, and a 3rd. 5th for this year, 2nd and 3rd for next year, and for pick 51. I'm rejecting that.
These trades suck. I'm just gonna be honest. Those are slaps in the face.
So, what position should we go for here? We think.
Well, let's see who's at the top of the board.
Yeah, let's just take a look at the board real quick.
You have oh my word.
F it. You know what? Detroit ran
and this board is so weird.
Detroit ran Sonic and Knuckles. Let's make another version of that. Why not? I don't care. Let's go. That whole room needs to be remade anyway. Let's get it. Let's run the wishbone while we're at it. Hell yeah.
Anyway, logically, I don't think we obviously would be taking Hampton, but should we go defense, like defensive line? Maybe look at defensive line here.
This is a weird board. How does this happen?
So you have Alfred Collins, Omar Norman Lott from Tennessee.
I love Omar Norman Lott, but I just don't
Turner from
see us needing him.
You have Shamar Turner, Jordan Birch from Oregon, Darius Alexander.
Like, what do the linebackers look like?
Yeah, go to the linebackers.
You have Chris Paul, no relation to the basketball player.
Yeah, we could probably get one of those guys with their next pick.
Chris Paul and Carson Schlesinger are both pretty interesting to me, but I do think one of them will probably be there at our next pick.
Wide receiver?
Yeah, go to wide receiver.
And for what it's worth, I think that Chris Paul is probably going to be sliding into that 2nd round. So that 94 there, you're probably going to end up seeing him in the 2nd round. Isaiah Bond, Savion Williams,
Jaden Higgins, I like a lot.
Jalen Royals,
Jalen Royals, I also
Bo
like.
Nix's brother, the Senior Bowl MVP. Jalen Noyle, obviously Torrey Horton from CSU. Ja'Cory Brooks.
You're going
Yeah,
way,
we're
way,
going
way.
way down. Those are
Let's
late
see.
picks here.
Tight end, Elijah Arroyo, Mason Taylor, Gunnar Helm. So we could roll the dice here, take another position, and do tight end with the 85th pick.
I wouldn't be mad with any of these 3 tight ends though that we're looking at right now with this 51st pick. They're not going to be the Tyler Warren, Amarian Hampton combo, but I would any of those 3 tight ends I'd be happy with. Wide receiver is interesting. Go back to wide receiver real quick.
I love
Bond is interesting. Jaden Higgins is good. I like
I'm kind of liking
Royals.
I'm kind of liking the Higgins idea.
I mean, that's your built-in Sutton.
What's chat thinking right now?
Paul Schaefer wants Arroyo. Yo.
Maybe chat should tell us the position, and then we will pick from there.
So people in chat, let us know. The tight end from Iowa. I think that would be Luke Lachey. He's
probably a 5th rounder, 4th or 5th, right?
I was gonna say about a 5th to 7th rounder. So Paul's saying wide receiver. Okay. He's saying wide receiver.
Okay, wide receiver.
So then let's roll with Jaden Higgins or Savion Williams. I'm not all that hyped about Isaiah Bond. That's kind of why
I kind of like Isaiah Bond. Savion Williams is kind
of. Don't we have Isaiah Bond at home?
We do.
And that's also fair. I would not be mad with Jaden Higgins.
All right.
He's just a tall freak with a large catch radius.
All right.
I think it might be a bit high. I think we could probably get him later. But this is an odd board. So
yeah. All right. We'll go Jaden Higgins. And I graded us with the B, so certainly not an F. And let's roll up here. Xavier Watts might be available. Nope. So we actually have a trade offer from our enemy. A 7th round pick, a 3rd round pick, and a 5th round pick. No. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I think we have to. We have to go tight end.
Yeah, this is the absolute dream right here. If you're talking offensive playmakers, and probably everything that Sean Payton has talked about, this is like the perfect scheme, if you will, for the first 3 picks. And if it was my decision, I'm not choosing Mason Taylor, and I'm not choosing Gunnar Helm in this situation. We're rolling with Elijah Arroyo from Miami.
Elijah Arroyo might be the only player not named Gray Zabel that rose his stock more at the Senior Bowl.
Yes. So I'll leave it. We'll leave it up to the chat. But Matty, Brandon, and I feel like are probably all in agreement. It should be Arroyo, right? I mean, like
I would take him.
All right, so we're gonna roll with Elijah Arroyo, and obviously, in the spirit of Jordan not being here, he probably would be quite pissed. Take Elijah Arroyo.
What 2 tight ends did he mention in that conversation with Kay?
Yeah, Jimmy Graham and Jeremy Shockey.
Where did they go to college? Okay.
We have another trade offer on the table from the Buffalo Bills. A 4th round pick, our 4th round pick for the 6th, and then 2 future picks, the 4th and a 5th. Lions, just 2 future picks for the 4th pick. The Eagles, future picks and a 5th round pick. And then the Raiders.
Is
Yeah.
there a way? Is there a way to see who's still available before we reject and accept?
Yeah.
We have no idea what the board is.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can exit out of it and then go
Yes.
to the
Yeah.
trades.
All right, let's get out of tight end. Let's go to all. Let's see what the
Yeah.
board looks like.
So you have Chris
There's
Paul.
Boom.
Yeah, there's your linebacker. I would take
Yep.
Chris Paul.
Hey yo.
And obviously, as we said, no relation to the basketball player Chris Paul, who's way over the hill right now. By the way, also too, Chris Paul is going to be probably a player that's going to be, within that second round, end of second round probably. So, let's just take a look at. So you have Ty Robinson, who probably helped his stock a little bit. You do have Tylen Hampton, right? From Ohio State, Joshua Farmer, Aeneas Peebles from Virginia Tech.
I'm going
thinking-
backer, dog.
Yeah, I think to me it's Chris Paul Jr. or bust. Right here.
Demetrius Knight is also worthy of consideration, but yeah, Chris Paul probably.
What's chat saying? No comments so far.
Kobe Bryant and Chris Paul, love it.
Actually, yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Actually, where do they have Kobe Bryant rated?
Probably 6th round.
He was going to be the guy I was going to fight for in the later rounds. Actually,
It actually looks like they've completely updated his stock because he is not on this board. So
Can
he's probably.
Can you do a search for a player? No.
Oh, here you go. Show.
Oh, he already went.
He
yeah.
already went.
He just went. All right.
So, all right. I'm thinking Chris Paul. Oh,
Yeah, it's Chris Paul.
So interesting. Now, this is a wild card, and I'm just going to throw this out to you guys. I'm kind of digging Alex's ideas somewhat here.
I mean,
I'm less intrigued by the double up on running back
Like that.
early idea when we took Ashton in the first round.
it's harder to double dip there. Devin Neal, I think, with our next pick, if he's still available, certainly could get consideration. But when we have a need at linebacker and you've got one of the better ones,
One of the
in
best
class,
linebackers in this class. Yeah.
just staring at you with your fourth pick, you have to do it.
Paul saying nose guard, or in essence, defensive lineman.
I mean, you could, but I think linebacker is a greater need.
I agree.
All right, so let's roll with Chris Paul.
Yeah.
And then we'll go back here to all.
Oh, there goes Neal.
And Ollie Gordon.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Ollie Gordon is actually finally getting his hype.
Wow. What did Quincy Riley do? There we go. He's good. He's a good corner.
That's a lot of Baltimore picks. Holy crap.
Well, because they're constantly getting people, they're getting comp picks. And
Yeah, I was gonna say getting a lot of compensation picks. No.
that was a pick just to move down a spot. What? Ew, what?
This is on drugs.
Oh, there we go. Offer.
Yeah, move down one spot and pick up another pick. Yeah, you could accept that.
Yeah, I'd probably take that.
Yeah.
Versus the Raiders.
Well, you move one spot. And we already picked up another one. So if you want to grab more capital, you could trade this one to the Rams for more capital and not help the Chargers.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a couple picks. We may need them to trade for Cooper Kupp later. Trade them their stuff back. I don't know.
I'll give you both the picks you gave me.
Yeah.
For Cooper Kupp.
It's a different world.
I don't know.
It was 15 minutes ago.
Here, let's take a look here though. So are we thinking possibly double dipping at running back here, or maybe looking at D line now? So you have Riley Mills from Notre Dame. You also have Elijah Roberts from SMU's Simeon Barrow. I know Matty knows about him, but they also have the Shrine Bowl performer, Tonka Hemingway, for defensive lineman, Cam Horsley. So, and then as far as the Rocket Sanders.
I mean, I love Rocket Sanders. Ricky White is also really interesting here.
Look at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Theo Weiss
Slater. So a lot of
I
different
liked
ways to
Corey
go.
Brooks, but Marvin Mims' emergence has kind of made me
Let's go to edge.
realize we probably don't need him.
Maybe corner. Let's look at corner. Safety.
I'm not.
Shiloh.
No, we're in seventh round.
Developmental tackle.
Hey, you know what?
And
I mean, you could.
Yeah.
You could.
It's
get
never
another
bad.
tackle.
It's never a bad time to take a tackle.
Alex was saying safety.
Yeah, but safeties with the players that are on the board at safety right now are kind of like priority free agents, in my opinion.
Yeah. So as far as the better players available, you do have an interior player. There's Kaiser.
Can McLaughlin play center?
I think so. I was laughing.
Serious question.
No, I was laughing because at first I immediately thought of Jaleel McLaughlin. I was like, no, why would he be playing center? I don't think so.
I wouldn't be mad with the Ricky White pick.
And there, like I said, there's also Riley Mills or some defensive line. What are we feeling?
I'm feeling like our 5-minute clock is about to run out.
All
yeah.
right. So we'll go with Ricky White.
Riley Mills is good, but he's kind of like, we already have Zach Allen. We need more size with who we're losing there.
We are at pick 199. Let's what do we got going on at safety? Hunter Waller was a player that actually met with the Broncos at the Senior Bowl. Got a lot of connections to Jim Leonard. Might be a pretty worthwhile investment if you ask me, with one of our last few picks here. So corner. Looking back at tackle.
I say the value is probably at tackle here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong with the depth piece at tackle. No. Bye, Raiders.
You know, me personally, Alex, obviously I'm a Cornhuskers fan, but I also know that Shiloh Sanders has been a liability for that Colorado Buffaloes defense. He can't tackle, and his coverage is very, very spotty. He's just not a great football player. I think he's going to probably end up being an undrafted free agent. He might, and I think he gets drafted probably because of popularity. So I am going PJ Locke over Shiloh Sanders.
Yeah, I don't think Shiloh's been good.
Yeah, he's not been good.
He's probably going to go to the Giants to play with his brother.
So let's see here. We went tackle on this last one, and we are at 202 now. We do have Rocket Sanders.
Ooh, Oronde Gadsden's there. That's an interesting double up.
But it's an interesting double up because you have Royo, and then you have Gadsden. So they're basically the exact same type of player.
Yeah, you get double the chances one of them hits.
Not a bad thing to have two of that skill set.
And maybe because of value, it's really hard to pass up.
I mean, I like Rocket Sanders, but again, if you're taking Ashton Genty in the first round, the only thing that Ashton Genty in the first round just like is interesting to me is like Sean Payton doesn't want to use a featured back, and you take Ashton Jeanty in the first round. He's your bell cow.
What if we took Jack Kaiser? And you have Chris Paul and Jack Kaiser. Probably, it seems maybe in your future, your starting duo at linebacker.
I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Positions of need. I like taking multiple swings with guys. So, yeah.
What about you, Brandon? You were kind of indifferent, it looked like.
Yeah, I don't really mind that. Gadsden is the interesting one to me, just because I think that's a really good value for him. And he's yes, he's similar to Arroyo, but like you got to add to that room and find someone and throw darts. But I wouldn't be mad to take another linebacker.
You could also take Woody Marks.
No.
Hell
no. I mean, safety has to be in consideration at some point. How many picks do we have left?
We have 2 more.
Probably 209. We probably should consider safety.
Yeah,
I'm thinking Hunter Waller.
It's also like who did we sign in free agency? Which obviously we don't know. But
did we sign Holland? Yeah.
Well, maybe in this scenario, we actually we went out and signed Holland or Hofanga.
Maybe in this scenario we have Zach Bond and Chris Paul Jr.
Actually, if that's the route you want to go, then linebackers should probably be off the board.
I was kidding, but I wouldn't be mad with Jack Kaiser. Either one of those is fine with me.
You know what? Let's make it just explosive. So let's go Gadsden. No. They really want to trade with us. And then probably safety here.
There you go. Yeah, we could do safety, but you could also maybe get that guy as a free agent. Safety or who's the defensive line?
There's Trevor Etienne from Georgia.
Well, who's interior defensive line?
Riley still.
There's your Riley Mills.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah, I'd probably take him.
Value just wasn't there at safety.
I will say, though, that's an incredible value draft. When you look at Riley, Gadsden specifically, and then taking the value of offensive tackle, like that is actually a pretty impressive draft when you think of,
like, consider those top 3 picks in the red zone.
Right. And to, bring it back to full circle a little bit of, what he, what was said today from, Sean Payton. You put Elijah Arroyo and Ashton Jeanty on this football team, that immediately fits exactly with what he had talked about today. About needing a joker, and you basically now have you now have Elijah Arroyo and you have Ashton Jeanty, so like that is pretty scary. And then, you factor in even a Chris Paul here and a Jaden Higgins, who Chris Paul probably is going to end up being a day 2 pick, a rather early day 2 pick. And Chris Paul, Jaden Higgins, really shined at the Senior Bowl. He probably is a day 2 pick. And, maybe in this particular situation, the way we went out and got Jaden Higgins tells you that the Broncos did not sign Cortland Sutton to an extension. They're going to let his year play out, and figure out whether or not they want to sign an extension with Sutton. And then then basically at that point, you have Jaden Higgins as his future replacement at that point. So all in all, that is a pretty solid draft.
Yeah, Jaden Higgins is cool. He's kind of like Nico Collins.
Yep,
big, a little bit. Just big. Super big guy, but incredibly smooth route runner.
All right, I told you guys that we were going to do it. All right. And hopefully we have the blessing of the exact same type of situation.
Are we drafting this or is it running through?
We're drafting. Well, there you go, Brandon. Your wish came true.
All right, take him. See what happens.
We don't know. I mean, I personally think Paul Genty is a joker. I mean, the guy did everything for Boise State. Catching, running. The guy is the ultimate joker. You know? So, now, in this particular situation,
Tyler Warren's a joker.
Tyler Warren would be the joker in this scenario, and Tyler Warren will be a future Denver Bronco.
Last, not 24, but in 2023,
Genty had 43 catches.
for 569 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So that's not nothing.
The Green Bay trade was a little interesting, but who's on the board?
So in terms of best players available, we have Landon Jackson,
Gray Zabel.
Gray Zabel
I
for
actually would
center.
love that.
Gray Zabel for center.
You can play anything on the interior.
I don't know about, Matty, if you want to chime in here, but I do not mind Gray Zabel, and then you have him at center.
Zabel might be a first round pick.
He could be.
So,
Who's around? Who's on the board at running back?
Well,
Just out of curiosity.
you know who is Caleb Johnson.
I love Caleb, but there's so many other names there. I would take Gray Zabel, and I would sprint to the podium if Gray Zabel's there at 51.
What are the other best players available here? So Harold Fannin.
Oh, eat your heart out, Gronk and Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that would be fun. I'm not.
Deion,
gonna lie. I like
Deion Walker, Xavier Watts,
Deion Walker is really interesting as well.
6'7", 400 pounds. Yeah.
If Gray Zabel's there, I just can't not take him. Is the thing.
It feels like it's talking to me. That we should be doing Gray Zabel. Because like at that point,
It's just like you still don't know about center. You don't know.
Yeah. And at this
that
point,
position.
you have literally a legitimate competition for center at that point.
Well, I mean,
And if Zabel doesn't win it at center, you have a great guard that can slide in for either of your guys if they get injured. And
what?
I mean,
I don't hate it. Like,
I don't hate it.
It's not sexy, but it also feels like somewhat the smartest pick. It feels like
it also could potentially allow you. You don't really have an easy out on Ben Powers, but if you wanted to go a little bit younger at that position in a couple years when he's 30, I don't know. Gray Zabel, I love him so much. I think he's just so good. The only thing is both guards are pretty much locked down for now, but again, you never know what's going to happen with injury, and he can play either position. He killed it at center, and I think it's just such an unknown that I wouldn't mind making more competition there.
So here and just here's something that I just would want to throw out here. The Philadelphia Eagles originally drafted Landon Dickerson to be the future replacement for Jason Kelce, but instead they slid him to guard. Then in the year where they took Cam Jurgens, who's a pure center, they took him and invested heavily in the offensive line with basically two players who can play center. One slid into center and one really got comfortable enough to be a guard. And then now look at the Philadelphia Eagles as we just had our Super Bowl preview. Like, the Eagles have arguably the best offensive line in football, specifically from that interior. So they never really miss a step with Jason Kelce. So I love the idea of Gray Zabel.
Gray Zabel, fun fact, also played left tackle at NDSU.
By the way, Paul, Quinn Bailey can play guard, or I think he has played tackle. I think his best spot is guard, but I don't know whether or not confidently he will be here in 2025. So, Matty, you Zabel, you on the Zabel train?
I mean, the value's there for sure. That's the smart pick. The fun pick is Fannin, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and then rerun 12 personnel and stick with everything.
Dude, Quinn Miners, Gray Zabel, and Ben Powers on the interior.
You know what's crazy? If the scenario plays out, we could draft Tyler Warren based on what we just saw in the last draft. We could draft Gray Zabel and then Elijah Arroyo at 85.
Maybe. Let's see. Let's go Zabel.
B+ for Gray Zabel at 51. Get out of here.
Yeah, they can eat my butthole with that.
Quinn Ewers. He's gone.
Oh.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a big return, though. But I like Henderson a lot.
I would easily take Trevian Henderson here. Not even close.
He checks off a lot of boxes on and off the field.
Sure.
Tremendous locker room presence. And by the way, do you see the pick that went just before us?
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell me. Just shut up.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I love Henderson too.
Why would they go running back?
Also, I know that is funny. It's funny that Tampa Bay took a running back. I just hate that it's Caleb Johnson. But you know what? I also love Trevian Henderson.
I'm just curious though. Oof. Me personally, actually, what do they have at wide receiver too? Ooh, you got Jalen Royals.
I do like Jalen Royals.
And Bo Nix's brother.
I mean, you could hope that like a Neal falls to 121 if you want to go position.
Who else is at running back? Show me all running backs. Judkins there, Scatabo's there, Devin Neal is there, Ollie Gordon is there, Dylan Sampson's good.
We could wait.
Insane.
What else?
DJ Giddens is good.
What else is there at the top of the board? Can you click all? Because you're only showing like the top 2 players there.
Is there a way to like scroll the whole screen down so we can see more of the board at the same time? There we go.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, there's your Arroyo.
Chris Paul too.
Like so much talent. That's why I love day 2, dog. Like
day 2 is like, I would not be mad whatsoever if we trade back from 20 and get more day 2 picks.
I think that's
the best move.
That's probably the best move.
Because there's no way Tyler Warren's not going to be there 20.
Get me out of 20 and give me a 2 and a 3.
Yeah,
and I'm cool.
Trade down. Give me Matthew Golden.
Well, look at that offer.
Right, that's massive. If we do that, if we accept that, we have to draft quickly. But that's a hell of a return for.
Do we take it?
I mean, the next question will be how many rookies can we carry on our roster?
Yeah.
Do we take it? That is one where I'm probably taking that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it's a pretty good offer.
I would take it.
Sure. Let's go through it quickly.
Let's do it. Yeah, quick. I mean, yeah, Anderson wasn't going to fall to us, but maybe someone else will. The nice thing here too, Jalen Royals.
Do it.
What's our pick after 108? 121. Who's at running back?
We also still have Elijah Arroyo, Cam Scatabo, Ollie Gordon, Dylan Sampson.
Oh,
so we're gonna get it back. We will get it back.
I'm so torn. I love Jalen Royals. I'm like, give me Jalen Royals and one of those running backs, or give me one of those running backs right now and see if Jack Beck comes back to us.
I'm taking Jalen Royals.
Do it.
I'm taking Jalen Royals.
I'm not mad at it.
Do it.
Go for it. That's a great.
And
haul.
let's see the top of the board though before we just go.
Yeah,
running
I do
down.
want to go to the top of the board just out of curiosity.
No,
No.
leave us alone, Kevin Costner. God.
Oh, this is wide receiver.
Just go to the top of the
Scatterbo, Chris Paul.
Chris Paul, that's ridiculous, man.
Give me one
Chris
of those
Paul,
two. Yeah.
Another 10 picks. This is a dream.
Ollie Gordon.
So, what's our next pick after this one?
120 or 131.
So you could take the linebacker and then hope, between Scatterbo and Gordon or whatever.
So here, let's just do an overall view of running back here. Dylan Sampson.
Rocket Sanders late. Yeah,
Khalil Mullings. Yeah, I think
you could take Rocket Sanders and you can still take. Is RJ Harvey? Where do they have RJ Harvey on here?
I think he already went.
Did he go? Yeah, he's moving too far up the boards now.
Billy Bowman.
Billy Bowman's actually pretty good, but yeah, you can get him later.
He's small, but
he's tiny.
He's a playmaker.
Yeah.
I'm
okay with taking Scatterbo or Chris Paul.
I'm probably
Chris Paul.
Either one. Either one. I mean, if he's gone, but I'm not surprised.
Ooh, Jolene. Jolene says Jack Bash.
Yeah, he's gone. I'd love him though, but he's gone.
He is gone. Yeah.
Well, we just took Royals, so it's fine.
Yeah, we took Royals. I love Royals.
All right,
too.
get the running back.
Show me a running back.
Get Ollie Oxenfree.
Ollie or Dylan
Sampson. I mean,
either one is good for
the running backs that are available: Sampson, Gordon, Damian, Rocket, Woody. I love Ollie right now.
Ollie or Sampson are both great.
Yeah. Ollie is more of a game breaker kind of, outside the red zone. Dylan Sampson is just a machine inside the 5.
And for what it's worth, I do think it's going to be interesting what his evaluation is, because before the season started, he was a lot of talk about him being running back 1 or in that conversation. And then I think that if you ask me personally, if I was to look at it, it was actually factors that were around him and why he kind of played bad, such as the offensive line, and then, a 15-year vet in Alan Bowman at quarterback. I mean, like they just do, the resources around him were just not great at all. And that's why he kind of just didn't play all that great.
So we got to take one.
I'm going Ollie.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd go with Ollie.
Now we go back to the all. Our next pick is 171.
Danny Stutzman makes me excited.
We thinking
made somebody else excited too, because he just.
We thinking. Billy Bowman actually is available.
F it, let's take him.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good pick.
That's a really
good, great value.
Yeah,
phenomenal value.
Undersized, but screw it. Take Billy Bowman.
Try to play him in the Honey Badger role.
Mm-hmm.
He could fit that.
No. I just don't do deals with the double. Let's see. We already took a running back. Want to look maybe at tight end again?
Defensive line.
There's Tonka. Running back? No. Wide receiver?
Who's there at tight end? Just.
Oh.
Yep. Yes, there is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there is.
Did Gadsden kill someone?
Dog, this draft class would be bonkers.
And we thought the last one was great.
Well, I mean,
if we had taken Tyler Warren last time, we would have had Omari and Hampton too.
I know.
But I mean, I love Grey Zabel. Yeah, go to all.
Yeah. Let's see what the board looks like.
Kyron Lacey, who probably is going
Nope.
to be
Allen
not
is actually kind of interesting.
He's probably not going to be. Oh, Jeffrey Bossa and Chris Paul.
Why not?
So if we did that, then that would mean that in that scenario, we didn't go and get the linebacker. We actually built it through the draft. That is just.
Well, it's fine.
Go for it.
That is such a sexy draft. And now our next few picks are 199 and 209.
Edge.
Grab a developmental tackle. Grab Rocket Sanders. Grab someone on defense. No.
Honestly, real talk. Like with our last pick, QB is a sneaky potential need, depending on what that room looks like.
What a name.
Upton Stout.
So there is that Indiana tackle. Edge in terms of value.
Are we on the clock? Yeah.
Yeah.
I would take the developmental tackle.
As far as
Cody Simon's interesting. We already have 2 linebackers.
There's Ja'Cory Brooks.
I love Brooks, but he's just very speed, and since Marvin Mims started
developmental
to look
tackle.
Good, yeah.
They really want to trade with us.
No. Let's get out of this draft.
Last pick.
Who's there at quarterback? Just humor me.
Curtis Rourke.
No.
Brady Cook.
No. Okay.
Defensive line.
DJ, you gotta be booty.
No. All those are booty.
Jeff Sims. Yes,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
Good defensive. What's defensive line like?
Actually, KJ Jefferson, if you wanted to be a quasi Taysom Hill type, would be fun.
Yeah. There's Tonka.
Not bad.
Real talk, he actually had a really good Shrine Bowl.
I wouldn't be mad at it.
As far as another running back, you have Kyle Monangai, Mullings, ETN, Edwards.
I mean, you could kind of go anywhere with this pick.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, in this type of draft, this player might not make the team.
Probably.
It depends on who lasted, I guess.
You could
go
take
corner.
Tonka, see what happens.
Or Tonka, yeah.
Or Upton Stout.
Tonka?
Can't have too many corners.
There we go.
Yeah, this is the one.
Yeah, if you can snip this one and post it, this would be it. This is the way.
That was crazy. One of the fun exercises that I also like to do with this is I should say like doing an auto draft just to see what they would take. That is just nuts. Yeah, that is just wild. Man, that was wild. So anybody that missed it, we basically had, I didn't get a chance to save it, but we basically had a Ashton Genty draft and we had a Tyler Warren draft, which I feel like given everything that transpired on the day of like Sean Payton doing and really talking about like that Joker position, like seems almost fitting. We didn't script it that way, I swear, but it seems really fitting. And I think that, when we kind of circle back on his comments and stuff, like depending on what happens in the offseason and how aggressive they are, I would at least venture to guess that, depending on what happens, they might be that aggressive enough where they could trade up for a Genty or they trade up for a Warren. Because, like, I guess the thing that always stands in my mind with it is Sean Payton doesn't give a what other people think. Like, that was pretty evident with him just standing pat and taking Bo Nix at, pick 12, right? So like he doesn't care what people think. So him trading up and taking Ashton Genty, which is trading up for running back, or trading up and taking Tyler Warren, like I wouldn't rule it out at all.
He said we're going to be a problem. I don't think we're sitting on our hands when it comes to playmakers, even before the draft. So, for what it's worth.
Yeah. But yeah, any other final thoughts, Matty? Obviously, you weren't necessarily there when we were talking about the Super Bowl, but your quick thoughts about why you're picking the Philadelphia Eagles instead of the Kansas City Chiefs.
34-31 Kansas City, because why would it ever possibly be anything else? 34-31 Kansas City.
I think it's going to be close. I think I said 26-20.
Did I say like 28, 25 or something? It's mid-20s.
Yeah.
Probably Chiefs somehow, because that's what happens.
But anyway, thank you guys so much. This was amazing. We had an amazing viewership here tonight in terms of like doing the mock draft and a chance to talk about the the Super Bowl preview. It was just a phenomenal show. So thank you guys. We actually are going to be doing more. I should say we are going to be doing more of these as it progresses, and I think that it's only fitting, Brandon and Matty, that like now that we did a mock draft, I think it seems really fitting that we kind of maybe take a little bit of a deeper dive into some of these prospects and some of these players and everything, because once obviously the Super Bowl hits, we're going to need some stuff to talk about in terms of maybe like some free agency profiles, that sort of thing about players that they can probably go after, maybe players that are being swept under the rug a little bit and, not talked all that much, and maybe about their possible fit here in Denver. So it's going to be an exciting one. Again, just thank you to everybody that was in the chat. This was awesome. This was absolutely incredible. I think this is the most viewership that I think I can clearly see from our show than I can certainly remember, just on a live format. Matty, any final thoughts before we head out?
God bless Bo Nix. Thunder up.
God bless Bo Nix. Ignore that last part that Matty said. Brandon, what about you? You got your wish, and actually, I feel like you got more than
I'm happy. Wish. I'm happy with that second mock right there, man. That's what I want.
It was probably the best mock of the entire night, you got to say. But anyway, thank you guys to everybody that was hopping into the chat. Make sure you follow all three of us over there on the X Twitter platform. You can follow Matty at Matty Mulls Pod. You can follow Brandon at Brandon Miller PO. You can follow myself at Cameron Parker PO. And before we go, again, want to give a birthday shout out to the birthday man himself. It's a bit belated on the podcast, but Matty, we want to wish you a happy birthday, happy 55th birthday. And as I said, it was me who crafted it. But as I said, for anybody that didn't get a chance to see this, the guy there on the bottom, Matty Mulls, is actually the creator of the name mainly Broncos. He and I were just kind of just talking here and there about like, you know, what would exactly we would be naming the show. But it's the fun fact. He was the creator of the show Mainly Broncos. So in terms of the GOAT podcast name, you can thank him, for it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button over there on the MHRT Network page. My goal, and I'm trying to, force it on everybody that's on this channel, is I want to get MHRT Network to 2,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. And then, as you can bet, by the end of 2026, I want to get to, to 3,000 if we can. Just continue to pump it out as much as we can. Again, thank you guys to everybody that's been in the chat. We will do another show this upcoming Wednesday next week. And hopefully we're talking about a Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl. And if you are by chance, I have to throw this out here. If you are by chance either I should say this from the Eagles side of things. If you are an Eagles fan and you are watching this particular stream and the Eagles just so happen to win the Super Bowl, please stay safe out there on the East Coast. Please.
Seriously.
Please stay safe. Don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything crazy. Again, thank you guys to everybody that was hopping in the stream. We will see you guys next Wednesday, same time, same bat channel. It has been an absolute pleasure doing another episode of the Mainly Broncos podcast. And remember,
let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix!
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.